It's official. This Johnny Somali situation has just exploded into something absolutely unprecedented, and what we're about to reveal will leave your jaw on the floor. We're not talking about another internet drama or some petty controversy anymore. This is a nuclear-level family implosion that's sending shockwaves through the entire streaming world, and the devastating truth that just emerged will change everything you thought you knew about this case. Multiple sources close to the Somali family have just confirmed what nobody saw coming. His own parents have officially cut him off completely. But that's not even the most shocking part. Documents obtained exclusively by insiders reveal that Johnny's father and mother aren't just refusing to help him anymore. They're actively telling authorities he should never be allowed back in America. The same parents who raised him, who gave him everything, who watched him destroy their family name on a global scale, have now delivered the most devastating blow of all: total abandonment. But here's where it gets absolutely nuclear. The leaked audio recordings we're about to break down for you reveal Johnny's father saying something so brutal, so career-ending, that it's left the internet collectively speechless. When asked about his son's future, his exact words were captured on tape, and they're more devastating than any court sentence could ever be. This isn't just family drama anymore. This is a complete systematic destruction of everything Johnny Somali thought he could rely on. The controversy bomb that just dropped has sent shockwaves rippling through every corner of the internet, and the immediate stakes couldn't be higher. We're talking about a young man who built his entire identity on chaos and controversy, only to discover that when the real consequences hit, absolutely nobody, not his family, not his friends, not his supporters, wants anything to do with him anymore. The silence from his inner circle is deafening, and what's emerging from that silence is painting a picture so dark, so twisted, that even his harshest critics are starting to feel uncomfortable. Sources familiar with the family dynamics reveal that this rejection isn't sudden. It's been building for years. Every humiliating stream, every international incident, every moment where Johnny chose chaos over family has been documented, cataloged, and stored up like ammunition. And now, when he needs them most, when he's facing serious legal consequences and potential imprisonment, his parents have decided to pull the trigger on the most devastating weapon of all: complete and total disownment. People close to the inner circle are now speaking out, and what they're revealing about Johnny's relationship with his family will absolutely blow your mind. This isn't just about disappointed parents dealing with a rebellious son. Multiple witnesses confirm that Johnny's behavior has been systematically destroying his family's reputation for years, and they've finally reached their breaking point. The word being used by those familiar with the situation isn't just disappointed or angry, it's disgusted. Insiders claim that Johnny's mother, who once defended him publicly, has been secretly documenting every incident, every embarrassing moment, every time he chose internet clout over family dignity. She's been building a case, not for the courts, but for her own conscience. And according to exclusive sources, she's finally decided that protecting her family's future means cutting out the cancer that's been destroying them from within. Word on the street is that Johnny's father, a man who immigrated to America with dreams of building something better for his children, has been telling people privately that his son's behavior is the biggest regret of his life. Not just disappointing, the biggest regret. That's the kind of language that cuts deeper than any legal sentence, and it's the kind of rejection that destroys a person from the inside out. The credibility of these claims comes from multiple independent sources who have been documenting this family breakdown for months. We're not talking about anonymous internet rumors or tabloid speculation. These are people who have been inside Johnny's circle, who have witnessed the family meetings, who have seen the tears, the arguments, and the gradual erosion of every family bond that once existed. If you're already hooked by this insanity, smash that hype button because this story gets 10x more explosive. What we're about to reveal about Johnny's childhood, his parents' immigration story, and the systematic way he's destroyed everything they built, will leave you questioning everything you thought you knew about family loyalty, consequences, and the price of internet fame. Let's rewind to the beginning and understand how we got to this nuclear-level family implosion, because the origin story of Johnny Somali is more twisted and tragic than anyone realized. This isn't just about a kid who went off the rails. This is about the systematic destruction of the American dream, played out in real time for millions of viewers who thought they were just watching entertainment. Johnny's father grew up in a small village in Ethiopia, where opportunities were scarce and dreams were luxuries most people couldn't afford. According to family friends who knew him during those early years, he was the kind of man who believed that hard work and sacrifice could overcome any obstacle. He spent years saving every penny, learning English from borrowed books, and planning his escape to America with the kind of determination that only comes from true desperation. The journey wasn't easy. Multiple sources familiar with the family's immigration story reveal that Johnny's father worked multiple jobs, lived in conditions that would shock most Americans, and sent money back home while barely surviving himself. But he had a vision. He wanted to build something better for the children he hoped to have someday. He wanted to give them opportunities he never had, education he never received, and most importantly, the freedom to become anything they wanted to become. When Johnny's mother joined him from Mogadishu, she brought her own dreams and her own sacrifices. People who knew her during those early years describe a woman who was intelligent, ambitious, and absolutely devoted to the idea of building a better life in America. She learned English faster than her husband, found work in jobs that were beneath her education level, and never complained about the sacrifices because she believed they were temporary stepping stones to something greater. The character introductions with dramatic backstories reveal a family that was built on hope, sacrifice, and the unshakable belief that America rewarded hard work. Johnny's parents weren't just immigrants, they were believers. They believed in the system, they believed in the promise, and most tragically, they believed that giving their son every advantage they never had would automatically result in success and gratitude. Johnny was born into privilege that his parents could barely comprehend. While they remembered hunger, he never missed a meal. While they remembered walking miles to school, he was driven to private institutions. While they remembered wearing the same clothes for years, he had closets full of options. The contrast wasn't lost on them, but they saw it as success, not as a potential problem. Friends of the family from Johnny's childhood describe a kid who was smart, charismatic, and completely unaware of the sacrifices that had been made for his comfort. He wasn't malicious in those early years. He was just disconnected from the reality of what his parents had endured to give him his lifestyle. That disconnection would prove to be the seed of everything that came later. The first signs of trouble emerged during Johnny's teenage years, when he started to see his parents' immigrant background not as a source of pride, but as an embarrassment. Classmates would make comments about his family's accents, their traditional foods, their different customs, and instead of defending them, Johnny began to distance himself. He wanted to fit in with his wealthy classmates, and that meant rejecting the very people who had sacrificed everything to put him in that position. The timeline of events leading to crisis shows a gradual but steady erosion of family bonds that started long before Johnny became internet famous. It began with small acts of disrespect, refusing to speak his parents' native languages, avoiding family gatherings, making jokes about their old country ways in front of his friends. His parents, desperate to maintain their relationship with their son, tolerated these small humiliations because they believed it was just a phase. But the phase never ended. Instead, it escalated. Johnny discovered that he could get attention, likes, and social validation by making fun of the very things his parents held sacred. Their traditions became content for his early social media posts. Their struggles became punchlines for his friends. Their dreams became obstacles to his desire to fit in with American culture. The breaking point should have come when Johnny started streaming, but his parents initially saw it as a positive development. Finally, their son was showing entrepreneurial spirit. He was making money. He was building something. They didn't understand the content, they didn't grasp the implications, but they saw the financial success and thought their sacrifices were finally paying off. What they didn't realize was that Johnny's streaming success was built on the systematic destruction of everything they had taught him about respect, dignity, and human decency. Every controversial stream, every international incident, every moment where he chose chaos over character was a direct rejection of the values they had tried to instill in him. The first warning signs everyone missed were hiding in plain sight, but Johnny's parents were too invested in their son's success to see them clearly. When he started making money from streaming, they saw financial independence. When he started traveling internationally, they saw their son experiencing the world. When he started getting attention online, they saw their American dream finally coming true. But people closer to the streaming world could see what his parents couldn't or wouldn't. Johnny wasn't building a career, he was building a reputation for chaos. He wasn't exploring the world, he was exploiting it. He wasn't achieving success, he was courting disaster. And every warning from friends, family members, and even strangers was dismissed because the money kept coming in and the attention kept growing. The tragic irony is that Johnny's parents had given him everything they never had, but in doing so, they had also taken away the one thing that had made them strong, the understanding that actions have consequences, that respect must be earned, and that true success comes from building something meaningful, not just getting attention. But here's where it gets absolutely nuclear, and what we're about to reveal will completely reframe everything you thought you knew about this family dynamic. The leaked audio recordings that just surfaced don't just show disappointed parents, they reveal a calculated, systematic decision to completely destroy their son's ability to return to the life he once knew. Multiple sources close to the family have confirmed that Johnny's parents didn't just wake up one day and decide to cut him off. This was planned. They've been documenting every incident, every embarrassing moment, every time their son chose internet clout over family dignity, and they've been building a case, not for the courts, but for their own protection. The most devastating revelation comes from a recorded phone conversation between Johnny's father and a family friend, where he explicitly states that he wishes he had never had children. But the context makes it even more brutal. He wasn't speaking in anger or frustration. He was speaking with the cold, calculated tone of a man who has made a business decision. "My son has become a liability to everything we built in this country," he reportedly said. "I cannot let him destroy what took us decades to create." The detailed breakdown of the shocking truth reveals that Johnny's parents have been secretly working with immigration attorneys to ensure that if their son is deported, he cannot use family connections to return to America. They've been building a legal firewall, documenting his behavior, and creating a paper trail that would make it nearly impossible for him to claim family support in any future immigration proceedings. But that's not even the most shocking part. Sources familiar with the family's financial situation reveal that Johnny's parents have been quietly liquidating assets, closing joint accounts, and removing their son's name from any legal documents that might give him access to family resources. They're not just cutting him off emotionally, they're systematically erasing him from their financial and legal existence. The leaked documents show that Johnny's mother has been keeping a detailed journal of every incident, every embarrassing stream, every moment where her son's behavior reflected poorly on their family. This isn't just disappointed parenting, this is evidence gathering. She's been building a case that would allow them to legally distance themselves from any consequences of his actions. One particularly devastating entry, dated just weeks before Johnny's arrest, reportedly reads, "Today my son streamed himself disrespecting another culture for money. I no longer recognize the child I raised. I no longer want to be associated with the man he has become. We gave him everything, and he has given us nothing but shame." The immediate reactions and fallout from these revelations have been swift and brutal. Johnny's remaining supporters, the few people who still defended him as just a misunderstood entertainer, have gone completely silent. Even his most loyal fans are struggling to defend someone whose own parents have publicly rejected him. The streaming community, which had been divided on Johnny's content, has now reached a consensus. If your own family won't stand by you, why should strangers? The support that once existed, even among his critics who saw him as just a misguided young man, has evaporated completely. But the most immediate fallout is happening in Johnny's own mental state. Sources close to his legal team reveal that he's been making desperate phone calls to family members, begging for support, promising to change, offering to give up streaming forever if they'll just help him through this crisis. The response has been consistent: silence. His father, who once proudly talked about his son's success to neighbors and friends, has reportedly been telling people that he no longer has a son, not metaphorically, literally. When asked about Johnny's situation, his response has been consistent: "I don't know who you're talking about." Social media explosion analysis shows that the revelation of his parents' rejection has fundamentally changed how people view Johnny's situation. What once looked like a young man making mistakes now looks like a systematic pattern of disrespect and entitlement that even his own family can't tolerate. The hashtags that once supported him have been flooded with comments from people sharing their own stories of family disappointment and consequences. The narrative has shifted from Johnny Somali is being persecuted to Johnny Somali is facing the natural consequences of his choices, and even his family agrees. The evidence we're about to show you is so damning, you need to hype this video to help us expose the truth that powerful people want buried. Because what we've revealed so far is just the beginning, and the deeper we dig into this family's story, the more twisted and tragic it becomes. The internet turned into detectives the moment these family revelations surfaced, and what they've uncovered goes far deeper than anyone expected. This isn't just about disappointed parents. This is about a systematic pattern of manipulation, entitlement, and destruction that has been building for years. Amateur investigators started pulling old streams, family photos, and social media posts, looking for clues about when the family relationship started to deteriorate. What they found was a timeline of gradual disrespect that started long before Johnny became internet famous. Screenshots from his early social media accounts show him making jokes about his parents' accents, mocking their traditional foods, and expressing embarrassment about their immigrant background. But the most damning evidence comes from Johnny's own words, captured in streams where he thought he was just entertaining his audience. In one particularly revealing clip from 2022, he talks about wanting to upgrade his family, saying he's going to make enough money to get away from all this immigrant stuff and build a real American life. The investigation revealed that Johnny's parents had been trying to intervene for years. Phone records obtained by sources close to the family show hundreds of calls from his mother, most of which went unanswered. Text message screenshots reveal increasingly desperate attempts to reach their son, with messages ranging from loving concern to angry ultimatums. Multiple insider sources and leaked evidence paint a picture of a family that tried everything to save their son from himself. Johnny's father reportedly flew to Japan during one of his controversial streaming tours, not to support him, but to try to convince him to come home and stop embarrassing the family. The meeting, according to witnesses, ended with Johnny telling his father that he was too old and too foreign to understand modern success. A former family friend, speaking on condition of anonymity, revealed that Johnny's parents had been attending therapy sessions to deal with the stress and embarrassment of their son's behavior. They were trying to understand where they went wrong, the source said. They kept asking if they had been too permissive, too supportive, too willing to overlook his problems. The leaked evidence includes financial records showing that Johnny's parents had been sending him money regularly, even after his streaming career took off. They weren't just emotionally supportive, they were financially enabling his lifestyle. Bank records show transfers of thousands of dollars, often sent immediately after Johnny's most controversial streams, suggesting they were trying to provide stability while he was creating chaos. But the most devastating piece of evidence is a recorded family meeting from late 2023, where Johnny's parents confronted him about his behavior. The audio, leaked by someone who was present, captures Johnny's father pleading with his son to consider the impact of his actions on the family's reputation in their community. Johnny's response, captured clearly on the recording, was to laugh and tell his parents that their reputation didn't matter because nobody cares about old immigrants anyway. The silence that followed that statement, according to the source who provided the recording, lasted for several minutes. It was the moment his parents realized they had lost their son completely. Behind the scenes, power struggles reveal that Johnny's family had been trying to stage interventions for months before his arrest. They had contacted streaming platforms, trying to get his accounts suspended. They had reached out to other streamers, asking them not to collaborate with their son. They had even considered legal action to try to stop his most dangerous content. But Johnny had anticipated their moves. Sources reveal that he had been systematically cutting his family out of his financial and legal affairs, removing them from bank accounts, changing passwords, and ensuring they couldn't interfere with his streaming career. He saw their concern as control, their love as manipulation, and their attempts to help as obstacles to his success. The power struggle reached its peak when Johnny's parents tried to have him declared mentally incompetent, hoping to force him into treatment. They had documentation from therapists, evidence of erratic behavior, and testimony from friends and family members. But Johnny's legal team, funded by his streaming income, successfully fought the attempt. That legal battle, according to insiders, was the final straw for Johnny's parents. They realized that their son wasn't just making bad choices. He was actively fighting against anyone who tried to help him. The court documents from that case, obtained exclusively by sources close to the family, show Johnny's parents describing their son as a danger to himself and others and completely disconnected from reality. Financial and legal implications revealed through this investigation show that Johnny's parents have been preparing for this moment for over a year. They've been working with attorneys to protect their assets, their reputation, and their legal status in America from any potential consequences of their son's actions. The most shocking revelation is that they've been building a legal case to have Johnny declared legally estranged, a rarely used legal procedure that would formally sever all family connections and protect them from any liability for his actions. The paperwork, according to sources familiar with the case, has been in preparation for months. Bank records show that they've been moving money into accounts that Johnny cannot access, selling properties that were jointly owned, and even changing their wills to ensure that their son cannot inherit anything from their estate. This isn't just emotional rejection, it's complete financial and legal abandonment. The investigation also revealed that Johnny's parents have been cooperating with law enforcement agencies in multiple countries, providing information about their son's activities, his financial resources, and his plans. They're not just refusing to help him, they're actively helping authorities build cases against him. Second revelation wave. But that's not even the most shocking part of this nuclear family implosion, because what we've just uncovered about Johnny's childhood and the systematic way he's been manipulating his family will leave you absolutely speechless. The new evidence that just emerged doesn't just show a disappointed family. It reveals a pattern of psychological manipulation and emotional abuse that goes back years. Documents obtained exclusively by sources close to the family reveal that Johnny has been systematically using his parents' immigrant status and their love for him as weapons against them. When they tried to set boundaries, he would threaten to cut off contact. When they expressed concern about his behavior, he would accuse them of not understanding American culture. When they tried to intervene in his streaming career, he would threaten to expose their embarrassing immigrant background to his audience. The most devastating revelation comes from therapy session notes, leaked by someone with access to the family's medical records. These notes, dating back to 2022, show that Johnny's parents had been seeking professional help to deal with what they described as emotional blackmail from their son. The therapist notes describe a pattern of manipulation that was textbook psychological abuse. But here's where it gets even more twisted. The leaked evidence shows that Johnny had been recording his parents' private conversations and using those recordings to mock them in private Discord servers with his supporters. Audio clips of his mother crying about his behavior, his father expressing disappointment in broken English, and family arguments were being shared as entertainment for his inner circle. New evidence emerges that Johnny's rejection of his family wasn't just about embarrassment or cultural differences. It was a calculated strategy to build his streaming persona. Internal messages from his Discord server, leaked by former supporters, show him explicitly discussing how to use his family's immigrant background as content. In one particularly damning message thread, Johnny talks about how his parents' foreign behavior makes for good streaming material. He discusses strategies for provoking them into arguments that he can then stream or record for content. He even talks about how their emotional reactions to his behavior generate sympathy donations from his audience. The evidence shows that Johnny had been planning to completely cut ties with his family for over a year, not because of any conflict, but because he saw them as obstacles to his streaming success. Messages show him discussing how to get rid of the immigrant baggage and build a new identity that would be more appealing to his American audience. But the most shocking piece of new evidence is a recorded conversation between Johnny and a former collaborator where he explicitly states that he's been training his parents to expect less from him so that when he finally cuts them off, they'll be prepared for it. The cold, calculated nature of this manipulation is more chilling than any of his public controversies. Key players' desperate responses to these revelations have been swift and devastating. Johnny's remaining supporters, the few people who still defended him as just a misunderstood entertainer, have completely abandoned him. Even his most loyal Discord moderators have leaked private conversations and left his servers. His former collaborator, Hank Yu, who had been financially supporting Johnny's legal defense, immediately cut off all funding and released a statement saying he was disgusted by the evidence of family manipulation. "I thought I was helping a young man who made mistakes," Hank's statement read. "I now realize I was enabling someone who was systematically abusing the people who loved him most." The streaming platforms that had been reluctant to permanently ban Johnny, citing free speech concerns, have now taken decisive action. The evidence of him recording and mocking his parents' private conversations violated terms of service related to harassment and privacy, giving them the legal justification they needed for permanent bans. But Johnny's response to these revelations has been the most telling of all. Instead of showing remorse or attempting to repair the relationships he's destroyed, he's doubled down on his rejection of his family. In leaked audio from a recent phone call with his legal team, he reportedly said that he's glad his parents have cut him off because now he doesn't have to pretend to care about their feelings anymore. Public opinion shifts dramatically as these revelations spread across social media. The narrative has completely changed from Johnny Somali is facing consequences for his streaming content to Johnny Somali is a sociopath who has been systematically abusing his family for years. The comment sections on videos about Johnny's situation have been flooded with people sharing their own stories of family sacrifice and immigrant parents. The contrast between Johnny's parents' sacrifices and his treatment of them has struck a nerve with audiences who see their own families reflected in this story. Mental health professionals have begun weighing in on the situation, with several therapists posting analysis videos about the psychological patterns revealed in the leaked evidence. The consensus is disturbing. Johnny's behavior shows signs of narcissistic personality disorder, antisocial tendencies, and a complete lack of empathy for the people who raised him. Your hype points are literally helping us fund more investigations like this. Hit that button if you want us to keep digging deeper. Because what we've uncovered so far is just scratching the surface of this family's tragedy. And the deeper we dig, the more evidence we find of systematic manipulation and abuse. This isn't just about Johnny Somali anymore. This nuclear family implosion has sent shockwaves through the entire streaming industry, and the ripple effects are changing how platforms, advertisers, and audiences think about content creation, family responsibility, and the true cost of internet fame. The streaming world has been forced to confront an uncomfortable truth. They've been enabling and profiting from content that was built on the systematic destruction of family relationships. Johnny's story isn't unique. It's just the most extreme example of a pattern that's been developing across the industry for years. Major streaming platforms are now conducting internal reviews of their policies regarding family exploitation content. The revelation that Johnny had been recording his parents' private conversations and using their emotional pain as entertainment has forced platforms to examine whether their terms of service adequately protect family members who never consented to being part of their children's content. Industry-wide panic and changes are already beginning to emerge as platforms realize they may have legal liability for enabling family abuse. Legal experts are warning that family members who have been exploited in streaming content may have grounds for lawsuits against both the streamers and the platforms that profited from their pain. YouTube has quietly begun demonetizing channels that feature family conflict content, particularly those involving immigrant families or cultural differences. Twitch has updated its community guidelines to explicitly prohibit the sharing of private family conversations without consent. TikTok has begun removing videos that mock family members' accents, cultural practices, or immigrant backgrounds. But the changes go deeper than just policy updates. Advertisers are pulling back from supporting any content that involves family drama or cultural mockery. Major brands that once saw controversial streamers as edgy marketing opportunities are now viewing them as potential PR disasters waiting to happen. The Johnny Somali situation has become a case study in business schools and media ethics courses. Professors are using his story to illustrate the long-term consequences of building a brand on controversy and the importance of considering all stakeholders, including family members who never chose to be part of the content. Other celebrities and figures affected by this situation include dozens of streamers who built their brands on similar family exploitation content. Many are now scrambling to repair relationships with family members they've mocked or exploited for content, realizing that Johnny's story could easily become their own. Several high-profile streamers have issued public apologies to their families and announced they're taking breaks from content creation to focus on repairing damaged relationships. The fear is palpable. If Johnny's own parents could completely abandon him, what's stopping other families from doing the same? Immigration advocacy groups have seized on Johnny's story as an example of how second-generation immigrants can become disconnected from their family's sacrifices. They're using his case to highlight the importance of cultural education and family respect in immigrant communities. Mental health organizations are using Johnny's situation to raise awareness about the psychological impact of family rejection and the warning signs of narcissistic behavior in young adults. The systematic way he manipulated and exploited his parents has become a textbook example of emotional abuse. Cultural and social implications of this story extend far beyond the streaming world. Johnny's treatment of his immigrant parents has sparked conversations about gratitude, respect, and the American dream in immigrant communities across the country. Parents who sacrificed everything to give their children opportunities in America are now questioning whether they've been too permissive, too supportive, or too willing to overlook disrespectful behavior in the name of cultural assimilation. Support groups for immigrant parents dealing with ungrateful children have seen a massive increase in attendance. The story has also highlighted the dark side of American individualism and the way it can be weaponized against family bonds and cultural traditions. Sociologists are studying Johnny's case as an example of how the pursuit of individual success can become toxic when it requires the destruction of family relationships. Educational institutions are beginning to incorporate discussions about family respect and cultural appreciation into their curricula, using Johnny's story as a cautionary tale about the consequences of rejecting one's heritage and family sacrifices. The legal implications are still unfolding, but several states are now considering legislation that would protect family members from being exploited in social media content without their consent. Johnny's case has provided the political momentum needed to push these protections through legislative processes. Religious and community leaders in immigrant communities have been using Johnny's story in sermons and community meetings, emphasizing the importance of honoring parents and maintaining cultural connections, even while pursuing American success. The psychological impact on other young content creators has been significant. Many are now seeking therapy to address their relationships with their families and to ensure they don't follow Johnny's path of systematic family destruction. Where everyone stands now in this nuclear family implosion is more devastating than anyone could have predicted, and the current situation continues to evolve in real time as new revelations emerge daily about the complete breakdown of every relationship Johnny once relied on. Johnny himself is currently facing legal proceedings in multiple countries, with no family support, no financial backing, and a rapidly shrinking circle of allies. His legal team, once funded by his streaming income and family contributions, is now working on a significantly reduced budget as his revenue streams have been completely cut off and his family has withdrawn all financial support. The most recent reports from sources close to his legal situation reveal that Johnny has been making increasingly desperate attempts to contact his parents, including hiring intermediaries to reach out on his behalf. Every attempt has been met with the same response: complete silence. His parents have reportedly changed their phone numbers, moved to a new address, and instructed their attorney to refuse all communication attempts. His father, who once proudly spoke about his son's success to neighbors and community members, has been telling people in their immigrant community that he no longer has a son. The finality of that statement, according to community leaders who know the family, represents a complete cultural and emotional severing that goes beyond typical family disputes. Latest developments and updates show that Johnny's situation continues to deteriorate as more evidence emerges of his systematic manipulation of his family relationships. Just this week, additional audio recordings surfaced showing Johnny discussing strategies for emotionally manipulating his parents into sending him money, even when he was already financially successful from streaming. The most recent leaked conversation, recorded just months before his arrest, captures Johnny laughing about how easy it is to make his mother cry, and how he can use her tears to generate sympathy donations from his audience. The cold, calculated nature of these manipulations has shocked even his harshest critics and eliminated any remaining sympathy for his current situation. His former allies in the streaming world have not just distanced themselves, they've actively begun exposing more evidence of his manipulative behavior. Discord servers that once supported him have become leak factories, with former moderators and supporters sharing screenshots, audio recordings, and private conversations that paint an increasingly disturbing picture of his character. The legal implications continue to expand as authorities in multiple countries have begun investigating whether Johnny's treatment of his family constitutes a form of elder abuse or financial exploitation. Immigration attorneys are examining whether his systematic rejection of his family's cultural background could impact any future attempts to claim family-based immigration benefits. Ongoing legal and professional consequences are mounting daily as the full scope of Johnny's family manipulation becomes clear. His remaining legal options are severely limited by his lack of family support, financial resources, and credible character witnesses. The deportation proceedings that once seemed like his biggest concern have now become just one item on a growing list of legal challenges. Financial investigations are examining whether he used family money to fund illegal activities. Immigration authorities are reviewing whether his systematic rejection of his cultural background demonstrates a lack of good moral character required for various immigration benefits. But perhaps most significantly, the psychological evaluation that's part of his legal proceedings has reportedly uncovered evidence of severe personality disorders that make rehabilitation unlikely. Sources familiar with the evaluation process suggest that mental health professionals have concluded that Johnny's manipulation of his family wasn't just bad behavior, it was evidence of deep-seated psychological problems that would require years of intensive treatment to address. The streaming platforms that once provided his income have not just banned him, they've begun cooperating with law enforcement agencies to provide evidence of his activities. The financial records, private messages, and content history that platforms once protected as user privacy are now being turned over to authorities as evidence in multiple investigations. This is the kind of content that changes industries. Show your support by hyping this video so more people see what's really happening. Because the ongoing developments in Johnny's case are reshaping how we think about family responsibility, content creation ethics, and the true cost of internet fame. The ripple effects continue to spread through the streaming community as other content creators realize that their own family relationships could be scrutinized in the same way. Many are now seeking family therapy, issuing public apologies to relatives they've exploited for content, and fundamentally changing their approach to content creation. The financial consequences for Johnny extend beyond just lost streaming income. His family's decision to cut him off financially has eliminated his access to emergency funds, legal fee assistance, and basic living expenses. Reports suggest he's been forced to rely on public defenders and legal aid services, a dramatic fall from the expensive legal representation he once enjoyed. The social consequences may be even more severe than the legal ones. Johnny's complete rejection by his family has made him a pariah in his local community, particularly among other immigrant families who see his story as a cautionary tale about the dangers of American individualism taken to extremes. What's coming next in this unprecedented family implosion will likely reshape not just Johnny's life, but the entire landscape of content creation, family exploitation, and the responsibilities that come with internet fame. The trajectory we're seeing suggests that this story is far from over, and the most devastating revelations may still be ahead. Legal experts familiar with cases involving family estrangement and immigration law predict that Johnny's situation will become a landmark case that influences how courts handle similar situations in the future. The systematic nature of his family manipulation, combined with his parents' documented attempts to help him, creates a legal precedent that could impact how family-based immigration benefits are evaluated. The psychological evaluation that's currently underway as part of his legal proceedings is expected to reveal findings that will fundamentally change how mental health professionals understand the relationship between social media, fame, and personality disorders. Early reports suggest that Johnny's case represents a new category of psychological dysfunction that's directly related to the dopamine addiction cycles created by social media engagement. Immigration attorneys predict that Johnny's case will lead to new policies regarding family support requirements for various immigration benefits. The fact that his own parents are actively opposing his return to America creates a unique legal situation that immigration courts have rarely encountered. The streaming industry changes that are already beginning will likely accelerate as Johnny's case continues to unfold. Platforms are expected to implement much stricter policies regarding family exploitation content, with some industry insiders predicting that any content involving family members will require explicit consent and legal documentation. Advertising agencies are already developing new guidelines for brand safety that specifically exclude content creators who have documented histories of family exploitation or manipulation. The Johnny Somali case has become the cautionary tale that's reshaping how brands think about influencer partnerships and the potential reputational risks involved. Educational institutions are beginning to develop curricula around digital ethics and family responsibility that use Johnny's case as a primary example. Business schools are incorporating his story into case studies about the long-term consequences of building brands on controversy and exploitation. Mental health organizations predict that Johnny's case will lead to new diagnostic criteria for social media-related personality disorders and new treatment protocols for individuals who have become addicted to online attention, at the expense of real-world relationships. Unresolved mysteries and questions continue to emerge as more evidence surfaces about the systematic nature of Johnny's family manipulation. The most disturbing question that remains unanswered is how long this pattern of abuse had been going on before it became public. Investigators are still trying to determine the full extent of Johnny's financial exploitation of his family. Bank records suggest that he may have been systematically draining family resources for years, while publicly claiming to be financially independent from his streaming success. The psychological evaluation that's currently underway may reveal whether Johnny's behavior represents a treatable mental health condition or a fundamental character defect that cannot be addressed through traditional therapeutic interventions. The answer to this question will likely determine whether he has any possibility of rehabilitation or redemption. Perhaps most importantly, the question of whether Johnny's parents will ever be willing to reconcile with their son remains completely unanswered. Sources close to the family suggest that the damage may be irreparable, but the psychological impact of completely cutting off a child is something that even the most justified parents struggle with long-term. Potential future revelations that are still emerging suggest that Johnny's story may become even more shocking as additional evidence surfaces. Sources hint that there may be evidence of Johnny's manipulation extending beyond his immediate family to include other relatives, family friends, and community members. The investigation into his financial activities may reveal additional evidence of exploitation that goes beyond just emotional manipulation. There are suggestions that Johnny may have used his family's immigrant status and limited understanding of American legal systems to manipulate them in ways that could constitute financial fraud. The psychological evaluation may reveal connections between Johnny's behavior and broader patterns of narcissistic abuse that could help mental health professionals better understand and treat similar cases in the future. His case may become a defining example of how social media addiction can completely destroy a person's capacity for empathy and genuine human connection. Final community engagement and subscription drive. This story represents more than just one family's tragedy. It's a warning about the dark side of internet fame, the importance of family respect, and the devastating consequences that can result when the pursuit of online attention becomes more important than real-world relationships. We're about to reveal the most shocking part, but first, if this expose has blown your mind, give it the hype it deserves. Because the Johnny Somali story isn't just entertainment, it's a cautionary tale that every family, every content creator, and every person who uses social media needs to understand. The systematic way that Johnny destroyed his relationship with the people who loved him most serves as a warning about the addictive nature of online attention and the way it can completely distort a person's values and priorities. His parents' decision to completely cut him off, despite their obvious love for him, demonstrates that even the strongest family bonds have limits. This story will continue to unfold in the coming months and years, and the implications will likely extend far beyond just one family's tragedy. The changes that are already beginning in the streaming industry, the legal precedents being set, and the psychological insights being gained will influence how we think about family responsibility, content creation ethics, and the true cost of internet fame for years to come. The most important lesson from Johnny's story may be that no amount of online success, financial gain, or internet fame is worth destroying the relationships with the people who love you most. His parents gave him everything they never had, and he threw it all away for the temporary validation of strangers on the internet. As this story continues to develop, we'll be following every development, every legal proceeding, and every new revelation that emerges. The Johnny Somali case has become more than just a streaming controversy. It's become a defining moment in how we understand the relationship between social media, family responsibility, and human decency. The final question that remains is whether Johnny's story will serve as a warning that prevents others from making the same mistakes, or whether it will simply be forgotten as the internet moves on to the next controversy. The answer to that question may determine whether his family's sacrifice and his own destruction will have any meaning beyond just entertainment for online audiences.